Hello and welcome to today's Rocksmith Developer Stream. I'm your host and the community developer for Rocksmith, Doug Lilly. Thank you so much for being here. This is our last stream of May. It's a hot one here in San Francisco or near. Okay, so technically I'm not in San Francisco, but I'm very close to San Francisco, and it's hot. It's hot right here. But it's San Francisco hot, so it's like I don't know, high 70s, low 80s. Let's talk about weather for an hour. What do you say? We won't do that. We don't talk about weather much on this stream. What we do instead is we take a look at some music. We talk about music. We talk about what's been going on in the world of music and guitar. And to do that today, I want to say hello to our our only live guests for today's stream. With us today, we have Amy Batista and Dan Amrick. Welcome and hello to both of you. Let's see if
Hello.
do we have Dan? And we have
Yeah, we
Dan's
do.
face this time.
Yeah, you have Dan's face this time. So because I am the person running the Wheels of Steel back at Sunkissed Manor, I don't normally have a way to get my video in here, but we did a little kludge with an extra webcam, and so now I'm an overlay on top of everybody else's video, which is why you only see this much of poor Emmy's head.
Yeah,
So
sorry,
we
Amy.
may make some adjustments to where Emmy is sitting and how her camera is behaving, but it's nice to be seen.
And Emmy, welcome. Do we have?
Yeah.
Is Emmy here? There we go. Emmy's here and live. So yeah, Emmy, you are you're an associate producer in Ubisoft San Francisco. Dan Emmerich, you are the team scoundrel. That's what it
Thanks.
says.
I guess so.
on
Is
my
that
notes
what
here.
my title is this week? I don't
Yeah,
know.
yeah.
I just
I
know
wrote
that
it
they
down just
keep
now.
sending me paychecks. I don't know what my title is anymore. I just don't know.
Thank you
Provider
very
of
much for
all
being here.
things, sir. Provider of all things.
And to everybody in the chat asking about it, we will have our raffles later on in the stream. For now, though, if you have any questions for us here on the Rocksmith team, let UB Jurassic know. That is Brian Turner. He is our community manager over in North Carolina. He'll get your questions, send them on to us, and we'll answer some of those throughout the show. Nice hood, Dan.
Thank you. I
Sit.
just, I'm in Jedi mode today. I actually
Sure.
am. This is Star Wars in Japanese, so I'm
Oh.
I'm just feeling it today. I even have my one of my two pairs of Star Wars sneakers on. That's bad. That's bad.
I am fully unbranded. I have no branding on me at all today.
I rarely don't have branding on me in some fandom, whether it's Marvel or somebody's guitar store. I actually had. I was going to wear a guitar store T-shirt, and I was like, "Oh, but they're never going to see me on. You're not going to see my shirt on camera." And then, of course, I get here, and I'm like, "Yeah, I'm actually framed too."
There's a shirt. Yeah. We're gonna make sure we see that shirt. So let's talk a little bit about some of the stuff that we've been doing over the past few months. Dan, I know that a few weeks ago, I think right around the time you were on the stream, not just kind of running the board for the stream, but actually on the stream, Hero Falls had just released a new
Yes.
single.
Thank you for the opportunity to plug this.
Absolutely.
Hero Falls is my personal music project. It's sort of a comic book universe, but it's all music, so you learn about the characters through every different song. This month's thing involves another Ubisoft person. Stephanie Dowling did vocals on a song for me. The song is called "How Does This Work?" They're all available for free at herofalls.com. And I am working on one for next month, which is going to be Evil. Yeah. I also just did a couple of podcast interviews, so if you listen to either the PNB cast or Laser Time, I'm gonna be. I actually did a podcast for Laser Time on the history of parody music, because that's a thing that I do
Really?
too. So it's
Interesting.
going to be a very long show because it's me.
Okay.
Yeah, so those will be up this weekend if you listen to either of those podcasts. Surprise! I'm going to be on them.
Dan, amazingly, some people in chat are saying that your volume is a little bit low. If you're able to raise that.
I don't believe that
I
for
don't
a
either.
second. Neither
It's
do you.
not low for
Sorry.
me.
Yeah, no,
But
it's
apparently on the stream it's coming out.
I turned it down because I thought it was too hot, but it's not now. So there you go. So the important part that you didn't hear was herofalls.com. Feel free to go there and get the free music. You can throw money at me if you want, but there's plenty of places to listen to it for free, including Spotify and SoundCloud and stuff. So.
Okay. And so you're working on a new one. I imagine probably people think that you've got so much more time right now to dedicate to the music. I assume that's probably not the case.
It's not the case.
Based on what I'm seeing here. Do you think you have less time? Is this making it easier or more difficult?
It's making it more difficult because it was nice to be like, okay, now I will shift gears. And of course, when you're always in the same space, This room that I'm in is the room with the guitar wall that people have seen. My digital audio workstation is over in the corner. This is my consoles, and of course this is the PC where I play games too. So I sort of have all of my solo entertainment time here. If I'm not in the living room watching TV with Kat, this is just where I enjoy hanging out. But as a result, I kind of like, well, if I'm going to be in this room, then I kind of want to play Division 2, or I want to play Mortal Kombat or something like that. I don't really want to do much on Hero Falls. So I was working well in advance on Hero Falls because I was writing stuff and making progress on my commute every day. The commute went away, so I got 2 hours a day back to myself, and I've been very selfish with that and been like, writing songs and creating songs is also work. So I don't want to do that work. I want to just go have fun. I want to like escape. So yeah, since we're all still working full-time hours, those of us that are full-time here, that's just part of the thing. I get a little bit of time left, but I spend it either with my wife or with games, and I just haven't been very inspired to sort of like shift my brain out of home mode. So that has slowed me down from doing stuff on Hero Falls. I still have a few things in the works, and I should have solo songs for at least the next few months. But yeah, I kind of need a kick in the pants because I don't have more time. I just have a different fragmented time, and I think a lot of people are handling that way.
Just as you were answering, or as you were saying that, Zagado Z actually asked if we felt like we're getting our commute time back to ourselves. So you answered that.
A little bit.
Well, kind of, sort of. Amy, how about you? I know you had a lengthy commute.
No, I have a small commute. It was like 20 minutes.
Okay, so you're you have no your regained time is negligible.
Yeah.
Like wow.
20 minutes.
20 minutes, dude. Like it's an hour each way to the office for me. It's 2 hours out of my day on a bike and on trains and stuff like that. I am so envious. You can never be late again.
I'm never late for work.
So Emmy, we haven't talked to you on the stream since we were last in the studio. What have you been listening to? What have you been sort of keeping yourself busy with, keeping yourself sane with?
Well, work's been keeping me really busy and sane. Yeah. So
outside of that
craziness, I don't know. I usually kept my Spotify on to play whatever. And so it's been a lot of the alternative rock bands.
Okay.
So the new Kalo that came out, listen to that. So so it's been a hodgepodge of music. So for some reason, Ghost kept coming up on my playlists.
Yeah.
Can't imagine how that happened. So
I will say, I was actually
hockey terribly because I can't
missing hockey, right? Oh yeah. That's big. When would hockey season? Is hockey season 12 months of the year? I really have no idea. I feel like it's 12 months.
Indoor ice, right?
Yeah. I do roller and ice. So right now there's nothing going on, which is kind of like I ended up buying a hockey net and putting a shooting range in the yard because I was going stir crazy.
Yeah. Well, are you getting? Are you dedicating some time to practice for that?
Yeah. It's a good place to go online, and then like I brought in I did a workout routine schedule, so I fit that in there. So at least I get some movement instead of being sitting down all day.
Yeah. I think workout routines. About 2 months in is when I was like, I need to move around somewhat because I was not moving around at all.
And I've lost the weight because I'm not eating hamburgers or burritos at lunch.
Food truck lunch.
No food truck lunch.
Yeah.
No running to Brick House for a burger. And the occasional beer after work. So there's like, that's not happening. So it's like, oh, okay.
Doug, what have you done differently? Because
what have I done differently?
Yeah, I gave myself some weird little hobbies. Like like I've been working on music, but not so much. I've been working on like getting my 3D printer to cooperate. Early on, I took a joystick and I rebuilt like a joystick into a custom joystick and stuff. Like these are the things that make me feel like I'm getting something done, and it was something that I wouldn't have done if I didn't have sort of at least the extra mental time. You always ask everybody else, what have you been doing during this break? Like, did you take up any new hobbies or try anything different to sort of like break yourself out of getting into a bad routine?
So I floundered for a bit the first month or two, and it was just a lot of like every night was me going through like a different video game or two and kind of sticking with it for maybe that night. and then just moving on to something else, or just rapid fire, like trying stuff. Honestly, so I have a weird thing where at any given time, I'll either do a lot of like TV watching, a lot of video game playing, or a lot of reading. But it's only ever two of the three. So I think right now I'm in a shift where I'm doing a lot of reading and just watching stuff. But I've been practicing working on just focusing so that I can watch TV without looking at my phone, which is a nice step.
That's hard.
I gave up on that ages ago. I was too screening forever. Like I got to look up that. Where do I know this actor from? Yeah. Let me check IMDb. All the time with an iPad.
I have caught up on some shows. Started some new ones. But yeah, projects. I keep looking at my computer to start writing and then not writing. That's my project, is putting off writing.
Well, that's what real writers do. They procrastinate until they don't write.
Procrastinate to craft, yeah. Right. I also picked up Legos. Dude.
Legos.
Oh yeah.
Legos have come in handy to.
What have you been building?
So I built an Overwatch little figurine. I forgot, it was a birthday present from my best friend. And then I built the Star Wars A Fighter.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and then my mom wanted the London skyline, and that's on back order. So as soon as that comes, she will not build it. I will be the one building it, because that's how moms are. So that's my next project.
That's cool.
I've been trying to get it, and I ordered the Dio for Lego as well. So that's
from Star Wars.
Yeah,
the robot.
Yeah, that's my sister's favorite little droid.
He's a good droid. I like that.
Oh. And Dan, Jean308 says, if you can see this, thanks for your help with the pickup selection.
Oh, yes. Being the gear nerd that I am, you're certainly welcome, Jean. Jean asked this morning advice on Telecaster pickups because we showed my Talman on a recent show, and I had Seymour Duncan quarter pounder Tele pickups in there, which came with the guitar, but I came to really appreciate them. But they're super high output rock pickups, and she was wondering if that was what she wanted for her Tele, and we realized that no, her instincts were correct. The vintage broadcaster set was more to her liking, and is gonna So yeah, if you need advice on what to do for gear and stuff, I do like answering those questions. So.
Yeah, and send those questions to UB Jurassic. I got one more question, and then we're gonna do a raffle, and then we're gonna visit our performing guests.
Yes,
plural today. And this one is from TMaxXH. Question for Dan. Could you say if you would recommend a Jackson Dinky JS12 as a guitar for a beginner?
I don't know a JS12, but most Dinkies have Floyd Roses, and I don't recommend Floyd Rose equipped guitars for beginners. I mean, you've got to start somewhere, and some people, if that's just absolutely dead on to what you want to do, then yes. Jackson's no problem with the brand. They're very solid. They're very stable. Good value for the money, and they have a great legacy. But if the DS12 is one with a Floyd, consider doing some research into what it takes to change strings, set up a Floyd Rose. There's a lot of things that are not too hard, but just annoyingly specific about care and feeding of a Floyd Rose. You may not want that hassle. It also makes it very difficult if you're the kind of player that likes to go into any tuning other than E standard. It's very difficult to do even drop D on a Floyd Rose guitar. It is built to keep those strings exactly in the tuning where they are set. So if you change tunings a lot, I don't recommend something with a Floyd. But then again, if the Dinky is your dream guitar and it does exactly what you want it to do, just understand what the limitations or responsibilities come with that Floyd Rose.
And if someone had general questions about buying their first guitar, buying a beginner guitar, where might they find some good recommendations on that?
They might find that at Rocksmith.com, which does not have a search function. So if you search Google for Rocksmith.com, how to buy your first guitar is the name of a 5-part editorial series that that's kind of what I'm doing. My job now is to worry about like what kind of content we put on the website, and it's that kind of stuff. So I actually wrote a 5-part series on what to look for your first electric guitar, how much you can expect to spend, what the differences are, really basic stuff like what's the difference between a single coil and a humbucking pickup. You're not expected to know that when you start. So yeah, this is really my best advice based on years and years of buying guitars and playing guitars. So go to Rocksmith.com and look for how to buy your first guitar. If you find any one of the parts, they all link to each other.
I was just going to say, go to AskDan.com.
Right. I mean, so Emmy, how many guitars do you have now that are because you and I spoke in some way?
2.
Yeah. Well, you've got my old St. Vincent.
I got the Tubinsit and I got the Hofner because you
And you have the
pointed
Hofner
that one
bass.
out.
You and I are the
And
two
then,
people that have Hofner basses in the office.
yeah, and then I have the viola.
Right.
The
You have the
Epiphone.
Epiphone viola, which was based on
Yeah.
how much you liked using the Epiphone viola that belongs to the office that
That
used
was
to be at my
also in
desk.
your desk.
Yeah.
Yes. And
But
now
everybody
it's with
keeps stealing it, so I never
Sarah.
get to play it anymore.
And then I have the Gresh.
Oh yeah, and
The
then your
silver
Gretsch,
bullet.
yeah.
Yeah.
The silver bullet.
Going back to the Floyd Rose real quick, Venom Hammer recommended just buy a drop pedal. So let's talk about drop pedals real
Yeah.
quick. So that is a way, as long as you're not doing non-standard tunings, like if you're just doing E standard, D standard, C sharp standard, and so on, that can work. But be aware, there's a good chance you will feel, if not hear, a dissonance between what you're playing and what you're hearing from the guitar, from the speakers
Yeah.
or headphones, whatever you're using. If you're playing without headphones, if you're just playing from the speakers, it's going to be a lot more noticeable. But even with headphones, you will feel a difference in the vibrations from your guitar versus what you're hearing. So just be aware of that. And there are ways, I'm sure, to overcome that. I haven't used much. I haven't used drop pedals a lot in that capacity. So I'm sure people who have, maybe Dan, might have some recommendations.
I mean, I have a whammy pedal that I use as a whammy pedal, and it's a similar technology. For people that aren't sure what a drop pedal is, basically it's a pedal, you plug your guitar signal into it, and it electronically changes the pitch once it leaves your guitar. Now, for Rocksmith, we don't actually recommend putting any pedal in the signal between your Realtone cable and your computer device or your console. So this is one of those, try it, it might work, we don't support it, we're not going to tell you not to do it, but we're not going to endorse it either. But a lot of people have told us, yeah, I just put a drop pedal in, and yeah, I wanted to play like Motley Crue is all in D standard, but I have a Floyd, and I just want to set it up so they do the drop pedal and that works. And that's great. Like, we love hearing, hey, cool, you tried something and it worked, but you didn't blame us if it didn't. So yeah, the people have often asked, why don't you support that in the game? Why don't you do that? Because if you are trying to use only your TV, or rather, you shouldn't be using your TV. You should be using an external audio system, right? But if you're using the game's the game's output, you're going to hear something different from when you strum, even if it's just E standard tuning to D standard output. Consider being a new player who's trying to learn how to play guitar. We do not want to do that to somebody who's trying to train their ear to understand when they are hitting the right notes and when they're not. So those of you who are advanced players that want to add gear, go ahead, have fun, try it. If it works for you, it works for you. You know, that's fine. But that's why we never talk about it and you never hear us endorse it. It is a way around, but it's just a fan workaround. And it does create other problems for certain kinds of players, and we don't want to be responsible for that either.
Zagato Z's #1 rule for using drop pedals is make it loud, and Roymond added rule #2, make it louder.
You know,
that's the best way to get over.
That's kind of good advice for guitar in general, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It is.
Make it louder.
All right, well, we're gonna take a quick break. We're gonna do our first raffle of the stream, and then, well, I'll introduce who we're gonna see after that, after the raffle. So, thank you, Dan and Emmy. We will see you again in a little bit of time.
Okay.
But I'll stick around anyway and just run things if you don't
appreciate
mind. Yeah,
I appreciate it. Yeah, if you're in the chat right now and you want to win this Ernie Ball prize pack that you see on your screen now, please listen to the instructions from UB Jurassic to see how you can win. If you win, you're going to get everything that you see right here. It's going to be 2 sets of strings, a 6-string set and a 4-string set. You're going to get a peg winder to make restringing your guitar a lot more efficient, which is convenient given that you'll also have that new set of strings. You get a package of Wonder Wipes, which will help keep your guitar's neck, strings, and body. Could we say minty fresh? Can we say minty? I think we could say minty fresh. Again, don't taste them. You're also going to receive a dozen picks from Ernie Ball and 3 of the Spectrum Plectrum picks from us here on the Rocksmith team, and a black Ernie Ball strap. All that can be yours if you follow the instructions from UB Jurassic in the chat right now and win the raffle. If you win, he's going to reach out to you via Whisper, and he will get your name, your shipping address, and your phone number. As always, we need all that information to get your prize to you. So good luck. And right now, we are going to see our, as far as I know, our first father-daughter streaming team on our Rocksmith stream. We have with us, very happy to introduce Osbug and Screechy, who stream occasionally on their own. We'll talk about where you can find them a little bit later. But they are going to play Viking Death March by Billy Talent. After that, we're going to see Dan Amrich again in a pre-recorded version of Dan Amrich, the past version of Dan Amrich, where he shows off how fancy he is with his guitar dock and gig pad. So we will be back after that with another raffle. So stick around. We'll see you very soon.
Hi, I'm Osbug.
And I'm Screechy.
And we are a father-daughter streaming team. I've been playing guitar since I was about Screechy's age, so quite a while now.
And I've been playing since 4th grade, like 6 years.
So yeah, I've been very inconsistent with my playing up until recently. When I started streaming Rocksmith. It's been a great practice tool. Play consistent. And one of our favorite things about the game and the community is how many new bands we learn of. Chief among those is Billy Talent. I can't believe I've never heard of this band before. They're just a great band.
They are.
Especially because that's the kind of music I like. So for our first song, we're going to play Viking Death March by Billy Talent. And I'm going to be playing a Fire Jaguar bass. Amazing bass, incredible deal there. And Screechy's actually going to be playing a Reverend Rocco. It's one of Reverend's earlier models. It's from the early 2000s. I actually got it on September 11th, 2001. And it's an amazing guitar. It's a little different than their newer ones. It's actually semi-hollow. The top and the sides are a plastic, phenolinic plastic, I think they call it. But beyond that, there's a maple bar that runs through the middle there that gives it a great sound. And it's a loud guitar. It's loud, like we can hear it when we're playing over the music. But yeah, so she's going to play that for this. And here we go with Viking Death March.
look so tall. Down on your knees, you don't look so tall. Cracking the whip on the backs of the poor. We'll ask you to stop, but you still wanted more. The blood on your hands left a trail as you crawl. Down on your knees, you just don't look so tall. Justice the man, justice the man. Down on your knees, you just don't look so tall. Justice the man, justice the man. Down on your knees, you just don't look so tall. Justice the man, justice the man. Down on your knees, you just don't look so tall. Justice the man, justice the man. Down on your knees, you don't look so tall. Open your eyes and the empire falls.
Hey everybody, Dan Emmerich here, and you know, I like to leave my guitar in arm's reach at all times. I always want to have a guitar next to me. Obviously, I work at desks a lot, both in the office and at home, and I like having a guitar right there. But that's not the most stable thing. Obviously, as you have tried, probably yourself, you've leaned a guitar up against the edge of a desk, and you not only does it not work, because it slides off and you damage it, but then you also get these terrible little nicks in the back of the neck, and you never want that. So, naturally, various companies have come up with various ways to solve that problem. How can you have a guitar next to you at all times and still stable? Well, I needed a two-step process with two different products from two different companies to make it work for me. Loving as I do strangely shaped guitars, I can't even generally lean it up against my desk, even if I have something to secure the neck, because the bottom slides out from under it because it's not an even distribution point. Also, you've got the lower strap button, which makes things difficult. So, my two-step solution, one is the Diodario guitar dock. This is from their Planet Waves series. This keeps the neck secure. It's loose enough that it's not sort of like rigidly in there. It will move around once it's docked, but that is okay. I have not had it fall out. The dock is also interesting because you can clamp it to a table. You can clamp it to the side of your amp cabinet if you choose. You can clamp it to a lot of different things. Anything you could clamp to a flat surface you can do. And the top rotates. It rotates on a 90-degree angle, so depending on how you clamp it, you can make it work for the right orientation that you're using it in. So you want to clamp it sideways, you can still make the neck cradle be correct and perpendicular to the ground in your situation. Step 2 to this thing is the gig pad. Now this is from a little company called Gig Pad up in Canada. How's it going, eh? And this was something that I tried to do on my own and failed. I got a little kneeling pad, just one of those foam things that you can get at like the gardening store, right? So that you save your knees when you're out working in the yard. Well, the problem is those are covered in a vinyl that likes to stick to the guitar finishes. As you can imagine, that is not cool. So I found this object called the gig pad, which has a little, it's shaped like a 45 RPM record insert, and in the middle is a hole, and that's where you place the strap button, so there's no stress on the strap button and you don't damage the guitar by dropping it or anything. The coating does not stick, even to nitro finishes. It's really nice. And it's actually kind of a cool little foam pad that you could also use to put like a small speaker on, or studio monitor risers. But really, I find that with a gig pad to secure the bottom, they say don't use it with offset guitars, but they're not thinking that I'm using it with the guitar dock. If you use the two of them, you can take crazy shaped guitars and they are stable at the side of your desk. I have been very happy with this system. It seems silly, but when you always want a guitar in arm's reach and you have a lot of funny shaped guitars, this was the answer for me. So if you're looking to make things a little bit more stable in your life, maybe this system will work for you. The Planet Waves guitar dock and the gig pad. With that, let's play. Well, I'll play. You go on and watch the rest of the stream. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.
And welcome back to the live portion of today's stream. I want to thank Screechy and Osbug, as well as Dan Emmerich, for that content that we just saw. Right now, And where I'm going to talk, I have some things I want to talk about Viking Death March when we come back. But right now, we're going to do a DLC giveaway. Today, we're going to give away 5 copies of the Greta Van Fleet song pack on Steam. So if you're in the chat right now, please listen to Be Jurassic for your chance to win one of 5 copies of the Greta Van Fleet song pack. And that's the first Greta Van Fleet song pack, which includes Black Smoke Rising, Highway Tune, and Safari Song. So once more, listen to You Be Jurassic for your chance to win that. Right now, we are going to revisit Osbug and Screechy for one of my favorite tunes kind of ever, Oblivion by Mastodon. I think I played it on the stream many, many months ago. I had a great time, and they probably play it better. So let's watch them play it. After that, we're going to get a lesson about the evolution of soloing from Greg Studley. After that, we'll be back to talk with Emmy and Dan Emmerich. So we'll see you soon.
All right, for our second song, we're going to be playing a Mastodon song. We're going to be playing Oblivion. And one of the challenges with a 2-person stream, especially the guitar, is finding a song that has 2 interesting guitar tracks. Sometimes the lead will be great and the rhythm will be kind of boring or bland, and a lot of those I end up playing bass. But Mastodon, really, that's not an issue. Honestly, a lot of times the rhythm track is almost as hard as the lead track, minus the solos there. But both of them are great guitars, so we love playing Mastodon. We love listening to Mastodon. And for this song, I'm going to be playing a Greco Superpower, the Lawsuit era guitar, a Gibson knockoff. I believe it's from 1981, so probably older than a lot of you watching this. And then Screechy is going to be playing the Sterling St. Vincent model. Great guitar. It's kind of become her Mastodon guitar in drop C, or excuse me, E drop C. And that way she can use a trem, which Brent likes to use a lot. So here we go with Mastodon Oblivion.
Hey everybody, that was the very beginning of the solo in Mastodons Oblivion. I'm playing it in the wrong key technically because I'm not tuned down, but that's essentially what's going on there. I wanted to point out just what's happening in the very beginning there of that solo, which is space. They're leaving themselves space, somewhere to go. One of the things that we do when we practice a lot is we practice how fast we can play, we practice how clean we can get at those speeds, we practice all this really fast stuff, all the really showy stuff, and then when it's time to solo, the tendency is to play what we've practiced, which is to play all that fast stuff and not actually leave long notes anymore, or to even to not play and to rest. But when you're creating a solo and you want to engage the listener, you play too much in the beginning, you don't leave yourself anywhere to go. And essentially what you're doing is you're just saying, here's the coolest thing I got to show you. And then that's it, and you've got nothing left. So one of the things you can do is to say, okay, I'm going to be very conscious of what I play in the beginning of my solo to make sure that I can play exactly what I want to do at the end. All that stuff I've been practicing, and you save it. You save the best for last, right? So a good way to do it is you've already been practicing playing fast, you've already been practicing playing clean, all the shreddy licks you can come up with, is you actually practice not doing that. So that you know, hey, what are some cool ideas? What are some good notes that sound really cool when you hold them out for a long period of time? So put a chord progression in place for yourself and go ahead and just do that. Literally hold back the entire chord progression so that all you're doing is minimally playing. That means you're playing lots of long notes and you're playing lots of rests. I'm going to be doing this in the key of D minor. So I'll be using some like D minor pentatonic scale, some D minor blues scale, and some D Dorian. For those of you who are more familiar with the modes, I'll also be picking into that. So this is all about leaving space. Now, if you can get used to doing that and saying, okay, I can come up with really cool sounding ideas that don't have a lot of notes in them, then that's how you can start a lot of your solos. It's not applicable for every song. I mean, some songs you want the energy like straight through, especially if you have a shorter solo and you don't have time to develop it, you really do want to kind of just get right to it. But if you've got a nice pocket of time to work with, do something with that time. Let your solo evolve as you're playing it. So all I'm going to do now is take that same amount of time, which is like 16 bars, take that same chord progression, start it off with more of the kind of spacious playing where you give yourself some room, and evolve it into something that becomes more energetic as time goes on. Mastodon did an amazing job with this in the Oblivion solos. I mean, you listen to it in that first note, you hear it, and you're just wondering what's going to happen next. And this is the same effect you can have for your listeners for anything that you're playing. This could be at a jam, this could be for music that you're writing and composing and recording. It just works. Give yourself somewhere to go. This is what it would sound like if you gave yourself some room in the beginning. Save the best for last. Keep practicing all that fast stuff. Keep practicing all the shredding, but just don't use it all the time, and you give yourself some room to develop. Think about that while you're playing. Practice playing slow. Practice playing long notes. Practice the entire spectrum of what you want to give your audience.
And welcome back to the live portion of today's Rocksmith developer stream. I remain your host and community developer on Rocksmith, Doug Lilly. I'm so glad to have you here. Thank you very much to Osbug and Screechy for those performances. I got to talk to Osbug for a bit. Talked a bit about that Reverend guitar, because that Reverend guitar looked dope. So let's talk about Reverends with Dan and Emmy, if they want to rejoin the conversation here right now.
Yes.
Hey, there they are.
Yeah.
I'm coming.
Are they unmuted? Dan is on his way.
I'll be right there. There I am.
We have video. We're trying some things with video right now.
I'm Kermit the Frog with my hands. It's just ridiculous.
So when I was talking to Osbug about today's stream, I brought up that Reverend. That Reverend is gorgeous, and the only other Reverend that I know of that I've seen with my own two eyes is the one that Adrian has, which I believe. Did you sell him that?
No,
was that yours?
No, I've always wanted a Reverend.
Always wanted a Reverend. Yeah.
And I've because I have a thing for Karina. I love Karina, and Reverend makes all of their guitars out of Karina. Plus, Osbug said in the chat, he's like, "Yeah, we like weird shaped guitars too. We have have that in common." But Reverend does a lot of like offsets and things like that. The Billy Corgan Reverend signature model is way
Weird.
cool. Like,
yeah,
I was super impressed. I did get a chance to play one of those up at the guitar store in Seattle, and I was really like, I want to take you home. You're purple, But yeah, the Reverend, and that's like, so that's a full 25.5 scale guitar, like, right, the longer Fender scale, and there's that 1 to 5 fret stretch on Viking Death March.
Yeah,
and Osbug's like, I just do that. That's fine.
That's amazing. Like, that's a tremendous stretch that far down in the neck. Ugh, I know that's a thing that comes up a lot. Is how do you get those stretches? And maybe we should ask McScreechy, how'd you get those stretches? Those are big stretches. That is a massive reach you've got.
Yeah, it's very impressive.
And I watched and you were hitting him too, which is that's how I know you got him. Also, some people pointed out that it's interesting that Osbug plays inverted while Screechy plays in normal as far as the note highway. My assumption is, and they can feel free. Oh, McScreechy says, I'm assuming it was just magic. That's a magic of practice. Yeah, I assume it's because Osbug has been reading Tab for a long time, and I think he did say he struggled with Rocksmith for a bit until he discovered the inverted option. Whereas Screechy, I assume, I don't know if Screechy started playing guitar before Rocksmith or not. Maybe we'll find that out in the chat. But I do wonder if that's if Screechy was a new user, if the normal setting was more sort of natural to her.
Maybe.
We'll find out in chat. We can talk about that a little bit later.
I am a big fan of playing inverted because I also came from a world of Tab. By the way, we do have an official gang sign. There you go. Team Invert. Yo, what's up? But for people
throw gang signs on my
for people
we know that type of show.
Yeah, for people that find the interface confusing, a lot of them ask, why didn't you just do low E at the bottom the way that tablature does it? And what we found, this was before my time, but when they created the original Rocksmith interface, it was easier for people who had never touched the instrument before, which was the target audience of the very first Rocksmith, to learn through being able to visualize looking through the neck rather than the traditional way that we look about it, whereas you're looking down at your guitar so that the low E is at the bottom when you're in meat space, so that's the way the Tab works. So you can run it either way. A lot of people don't realize that, and I've even seen people dismiss the product out of hand, like if they don't do Tab, like why aren't they using Tab? You can do Tab real easily. You just go in. It's literally just an option in the options menu, and you toggle it, and people are like, "Oh, this changed my life!" And I want to let people know. Team Invert.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Yeah,
you can do it.
McScreechy said she learned with Tab, but learned Rocksmith with the normal setting, and then Random Factor corrected me, standard setting not or default setting, not normal. That's
because now we
fair.
now we
That's
have
a fair
hashtag
correction.
team default. Now we've got.
Yeah,
I did start a
not-
gang war. This is pretty great.
I don't want to make this. This isn't a divisive issue. You can each read different ways. You can learn different ways to read music. It's fine.
When I joined the team, I could only read inverted, and then a couple of times on stream, I found myself playing, and nobody had switched it for me, so I had to just go through it. Once you get used to it, you can switch hit between the two views. I play both ways, but like if it's my rig at home, I'm generally playing inverted because I enjoy it.
Emmy, have you messed with tab much? Because you learned with Rocksmith. So
Yeah.
have you used much in the way of like tab?
Not for guitar, definitely for drums, and then for piano because I play those two other instruments. So
so you're
I
using
use those.
standard notation for that.
Yeah.
So I came in. I actually struggled with tab when I started using it back in the '90s because I had learned to read like I could read Western notation, but for some reason I always wanted tab to read like our default setting, like the note highway, because that made more sense to me. That sort of mirrored image. I assume tab is created the way it is to sort of work off the ideas of Western notation, where you have the lowest tonal notes at the bottom, and then they go higher as you go up
believe
the
that's
staff.
correct. I don't really know the origins of tab, but yeah, it makes sense to me.
Makes sense. Again, I don't cite my sources, so I'm not gonna, so I had a question. Sergeant LMAO asks, why are guitar pedals so expensive?
Because old white dudes like to spend money on themselves, I think.
Because people will pay.
People will pay
those prices.
The market will bear whatever the market will bear. I mean, to be fair, at the core, there's a fair amount of engineering that goes into making any pedal, and Brian Pody can speak to this at length because he's currently building pedals for fun.
He did speak to it at length last week.
That's true. He did. Yeah. If you are interested at all about studio effects, guitar effects, compression in particular, last week's show is a must see. But they are expensive partly because I think they can be. I mean, they are, they're small batch generally. The whole concept of the boutique pedal has risen in the last 10 years, right?
Yeah.
The idea of a boutique pedal is here's something that's handmade, handcrafted. It might do something that another pedal already does, but it's done, with love and with care, artisanally. And sometimes it makes a difference because you get small garage builders who can't build at the scale of one of the larger companies, so they have to charge more because, hey, I can only afford, I'm buying top shelf components and I don't have a lot of them, so I have to pass that on. That's fine. But yeah, there are some major brands that are selling gear, sometimes very advanced pedals, but $300 and $400 is not unusual now in the boutique world. That's outside of my range. I will tell you this. I have... To hitchhike onto the compression discussion from last week, when I wanted to learn how to do compressors, how to try what different pedals did, I bought the cheapest possible ones that I could, and I went to Monoprice, which a lot of people know for cables and stuff. They also sell cheap pedals, or they did at the time. So I picked up a couple of things, including a mini compressor. And that was my first compressor. I learned what it did, and I really understood how it affected my tone, and I wound up really liking it. And I felt like, well, this is literally a $20 pedal, right? So I got to get something better. I bought an $85 pedal that was to replace that. It didn't work as well. It didn't do what I wanted it to do. I found out by doing research that it was built around a completely different circuit diagram. It's a different animal. And then I did some more research into the Monoprice pedal and found out that it was cloning a very famous pedal used by Johnny Marr of the Smiths. So then I went out and I found... it's the Diamond Compressor CPR-1. And I went and looked for that, and I found one used for a reasonable amount of money. And I found that the Diamond actually did a couple of other very small things that I liked a lot better. So while there was a clone that did most of what it did, this one had an LED that actually responds to how intensely it's compressing the signal based on the input. So I was like, that actually is useful for me as a player. So I wound up buying the Diamond for more than $100, but that's normally like a $250 pedal. I love it at $120. I still kept the $20 Monoprice. That's my backup. I sold the $85 pedal. So the point of the story is you can pay a lot for a pedal, and a lot of them are really expensive, but a lot of it becomes there's a word for it. Brinksmanship? I don't know. It's like people like to show off their gear. They assume because they spent a lot of money on their gear that their gear is better than your gear. I think we all know that that's not true, but it's a really easy trap to get into. So to a certain extent, I really believe that some pedals are more expensive because you feel like you're buying higher quality if you pay more money. But some of my favorite pedals are Boss pedals, which people regularly crap all over. Some of Kurt Cobain's favorite pedals were really cheap, thrift store, beat up, basic pedals that were not a lot of money, and he changed the world with those tones. So don't buy into the hype. Make yourself happy. If you're a collector and you just like having, some people, they drive a car that was very expensive and it makes them feel very happy. Guitars is very much the same way. But you don't need the most expensive pedal to make your sound. Just find the pedal that works for you.
I remember reading an old interview with Trent Reznor of Nine Inch Nails that I believe when they were recording for the Downward Spiral, they would take certain pedals, like their distortion pedals, and they would run the batteries till they were almost gone, and then they would use that sweet spot right before the battery completely died to get the recording, so they could get this just the dirty, almost broken sounding.
Especially older pedals that weren't designed to run on alkaline batteries. If you're running on germanium batteries or like the non-alkaline cells, the general heavy-duty batteries that you sometimes still see, not very often anymore, but those, I had a Fender Blender pedal for a while, which was one of Billy Corgan's favorite pedals. I wound up selling it because it generated so much fuzz and distortion that it overloaded my sad little amp at the time. It was not a very good amp.
Oh no!
But I wound up selling it and getting more gear, and that's just what I do with my gear. Is when I'm done with something, I just move on. But I couldn't put it. It sounded worse with an alkaline battery in it than it did for a cell, and that's an old trick. Is that as the battery's on its last legs, the tonal characteristics change on a pedal. So I am not surprised at all to hear that Trent Reznor would be like, "Oh yeah, we're running this on 5% battery because it needs to sound like it's about to expire."
I got two things. I know we've got some meetings coming up real soon, so I want to wrap this up. But I got two things I want to say real quick while I have the two of you here in chat. First, Jean308 says, and again, I don't check these. I don't check I don't verify this information. But Jean308 suggests that, ironically enough, a number of plucked string instruments, including the lute and baroque lute, have their music written out in tab, or I assume what we would sort of recognize as tab. And this is before anybody sort of standardized Western notation. So that's interesting. And
I believe it.
Probably true. I believe it.
I believe Jean308. She's a good source.
Sure. Yeah, agree. And secondly, I don't know if he asked this time, but the past couple weeks, Zagato Z has been asking a question to our guests, which I will extend to the two of you. Amy Batista first. If you were given $500 store credit to an online music store, what's the first thing you would buy? I'm taking that question, Zagato Z. It's a good one.
That is, oh man, right now between an amp and another guitar.
Okay. Anything in particular, or just
I have an eye on the electric acoustic is what I'm eyeing. So until someone steps up and gets me that one.
Right. Yeah. It's just somebody until it falls.
Somebody.
It's not going to fall from the ceiling. I can tell you that right now. You're not getting anything from me.
Gets that, gets that hint. That's what I would buy.
Okay. And Dan.
I think I've bought everything. No, the funny thing is, yesterday I bought two pedals, and it wasn't $500. But had I known that one of the pedals that I wound up getting existed, it would have been this. Seymour Duncan makes or made a pedal called the Catalina. Everybody knows I'm obsessed with chorus, or not everybody, but many people know that I'm obsessed with chorus. The Catalina, and I'm going to put the link in the chat. The Catalina responds to your strumming and your playing. The dynamics of that adjusts the depth of the effect. And you can set it up so that if you strum harder, the chorus is more prevalent, or if you strum softer, the chorus comes in on your softer passages. In addition to that, it runs like a regular chorus pedal, and you can do all the normal C6 sounds that you can do with a chorus pedal. I loved the idea of a chorus pedal that would react based on how I'm playing. So that's on its way. That's another one that I was like, I'm never going to be able to afford this pedal for $220, but I found it for $120, and I sold some other gear this week. So I was like, all right, it goes right back into it. So yeah, I would get the Catalina by Seymour Duncan. And
and John 308 wants you to know, Dan, that apparently there's going to be a reissue of the old Roland Space Echo in a pedal format.
Really? Ooh, that's interesting.
According to John 308. Which
I
again,
don't
just sort of take it at a word.
I don't know that much about the Roland Space Echo, but I know that it is held in very high regard as one of the earliest Echo things, sort of like set the standard for it. So that's very interesting. I like it when companies bring out nice new versions of the old classics that have become too expensive on that vintage pedal market or that vintage effects market. Let's hear it for technology.
Yay, technology. And yay for the two of you. Thank you very much for joining us today. We will see you both soon. Well, Dan, you'll be here every week because you run the board now.
Just quietly.
Just quiet. And then Emmy, we'll see you again very soon as well. Right now, we are going to have our final giveaway of the stream. So if you are in the chat live, please once more listen to UB Jurassic and enter for your chance to win this second Ernie Ball prize pack, which will include everything that is on your screen now. It's 2 sets of strings for Ernie Ball. Those are regular slinky strings. A dozen picks for Ernie Ball, 3 picks from us here at Rocksmith, a black Ernie Ball guitar strap, a package of Ernie Ball Wonder Wipes, and a peg winder from Ernie Ball. All of that can be yours if you win. Once more, we will be sending these prizes out once we return to the office. Currently, there is no ETA, but we are saving this information so that when we get back, we can ship these out as quickly as possible. So thank you for your patience on that as we all kind of roll through this situation that we all currently find, that most of us are finding ourselves in. And that is about it for our stream today. Once more, thank you to Dan and Emmy for chatting, and to Dan also for showing us some of your gear. Thank you to Greg Studley for that lesson on how to evolve your solo as you write for a particular song. And especially thank you to Osbug and Screechy for their wonderful performances. They are both on Twitch. You can find Osbug at Osbug, that's OSBUG, and Screechy is at McScreechy, that's MCSCREECHY. I'm sure it's in the chat right now. You can find them there. Give them a follow if you don't mind. We appreciate it. We've got some other streamers in the chat. I saw Elisa Rockdock is here. Twin Machine SH is also here. If you want some people to watch you, now's a great time. Let people know that you're a streamer, that you want people to come in and hang out while you play guitar. That's what we're doing here on Twitch. Thank you all for being here. Appreciate you for coming, and we will see you next week.